The professor confirms that his hibernation experiment is a success after waking up a chimpanzee who hibernated for 6 months. The next step is to experiment on humans, so Albert and Max volunteer. Albert is a biologist who wants to be part of humanity's advances while Max wants some adventure and to spend some time away from his wife and daughter, who are furious with him for abandoning them. During the press conference, the professor explains the duo will be hibernating for 3 years and that there may be some risks since the human body is different from a chimpanzee's. When they're taken to the hibernation...
Alright, think about it. Would y'all be frozen and then come back to life and later on? Or would y'all not to get frozen? Low key, I wouldn't do it because I feel like you just would never get unfrozen and you just wouldn't know. But then you wouldn't know. Okay, but I'll watch it
The
after.
guys secretly bring some cigarettes and a flask before they're successfully put to sleep. Years later, Max and Albert wake up and are taken to a strange white room by a group of women who also bring them breakfast. The food is so hard it can't be bitten, so one of the women teaches them that they're actually containers with a paste that imitates the food inside. The guys complain about the lack of taste but blame it on a side effect of the hibernation. Then Max brings out the cigarettes and flask, sharing them with Albert as a little dessert. However, the smoke immediately triggers an alarm and the women rush in to put it out by covering them with foam. Afterward, a doctor and her assistant Lamia come to check on the guys, who keep asking about the professor. The women explain the professor doesn't exist and his experiments were abandoned because the world went through another war. What? Max and Albert are very confused, so the women finally share the details.
I hate unibrows. I think I've realized I don't like unibrows. That might be on my hit list of things that I just don't like. When I see unibrows, I kind of get angry. Sorry. That's all that made me mad.
Meaning it's now year 2044. To make matters worse, the war wiped out all men, so Max and Albert are the only ones left. Confused and scared,
honestly,
the duo tries to run away, but the door electrocutes them and knocks them out. When they wake up, Albert concludes this must be the second stage of the experiment and they're testing their reactions to a psychological shock. Max still can't believe that there aren't any more men.
If you're the last 2 men on Earth, what are you doing, bro? Be honest, like if it's you and bro, you're the last 2 men that can reproduce and be on Earth, what are you doing? You know what I'm doing.
Women reproduce.
It's in 1984, that's why it looks trash. It's old as hell.
She hears this and explains they reproduce through parthenogenesis, which is a real form of asexual reproduction that doesn't require fertilization found in many animals. At that moment, another woman belonging to the faction Genetics enters Lamia's workstation and messes with her things, saying it's a pity Lamia left Genetics to join the faction Archeo. Before leaving,
Repopulate with crystal
it'd
lust.
be a better idea to hand the guys over to Genetics. Sometime later, the TV in Albert and Max's room is turned on and a girl appears talking about parthenogenesis, so Albert has to explain to Max that the children are created in test tubes. Lamia mentions that their method of procreation is perfect, but Max accuses them of brainwashing kids. That night, Max and Albert think about the years of life they've missed.
Wait, so not getting buns? Bro, I'm so confused. I thought like since the last 2 men on Earth, they're getting buns, but everyone's test tube babies? I actually had a friend that was a test tube baby. Crazy lore game. Crystal Lust, this too much. She doesn't do it anymore. That's real. Gothic is like top 2, and she's not 2. Crystal Lust is too much, bro.
Friends are gone.
It's a lot of...
Swearing they'll never get frozen again, they comfort each other and finish the last drops of alcohol. Later, while they watch TV, Max points out that if they do things right, this place could be a paradise for them, but Albert scolds him for thinking with his other head in such a serious situation. At that moment, Lamia comes to check on their health and Max answers with a flirty line that Lamia doesn't understand. Then he asks if they could take a walk together or even dance as he comes closer to Lamia, suddenly stealing her first kiss.
Oh, nah.
Lamia freaks out and immediately throws him on the floor before leaving.
Bro's a predator.
Once she's alone, Lamia realizes she can't stop thinking about the kiss and something has awakened in her. Eventually, the guys are allowed to leave the room and taken to the biosanctuary, where they find embalmed animals that were victims of radiation. They also find a tree with 2 tiny apples and eat them.
Adam and Steve! Adam and Steve. Nah. That is true. These fits are weird. This is an old movie. This is like in the 80s, so I get why it looks crazy. But low-key, I like the aesthetic.
Approached by Her Excellency, the leader of this society. When she asks the men's age, Genetics member Emma explains the guys are technically 86, but because of the hibernation they haven't physically aged. Max comes closer to properly introduce himself, but the guards think he's about to attack her and knock him down.
Nah, he's not trying to attack those buns.
To let go of Max and teaches the men some history. It was the professor who invented the M-bomb, a chemical that was supposed to temporarily paralyze male genes to stop the war, but in the end it erased them. Max points out he and Albert can take over reproduction now, but none of the women are interested. Her Excellency points at the tree and explains it's...
Bro, imagine like you're frozen for 60 years. You wake up, you and bro are the last 2 men on Earth. You try to get buns, and they don't want you. Honestly, bro, I'm done. This would be my 13th, bro. No, I would not want to go. I can't go out like this.
Adam and Eve, so women will remember
Adam and Steve.
Paradise. She then notices the apples are missing and furiously orders the guards to put the men in confinement. Afterward, Albert tells Max they should escape, theorizing there must be a better world outside.
They're definitely in the spaceship.
In the meantime, Lamia continues to think about the kids.
Oh no, she's bricked.
The elder, the only person who still remembers the old world. Lamia
Granny
gives
used to
her a
get
jar of
buns.
strawberry jam to convince her to talk, and the elder shares stories about the role of men in the former society. Lamia can't help admitting there's something fascinating about Max and Albert, causing the elder to point out that Lamia must be falling in love. Then the elder asks what will
Fall in
happen
love
to
with
the
you,
guys.
elder.
So Lamia explains they'll go through naturalization, meaning they'll be operated on to become women. The
What?
elder gets
Oh, see, dude, no. Like, this video is getting good, bro. This video is getting good until that weird shit. Like, what the fuck? They're gonna turn him into the Transformers?
angry and says that's worse than death for them.
That is.
Mentioning having men is the last chance for things to go back to normal. Sometime later,
Granny
Max
wants
and
it.
Albert are
Granny
caught
could take
spying
me.
on a class that is
Koopa,
brainwashing
squirrel.
the women with lies about the past. Lamia asks them to sign a form so they can authorize the naturalization, but the men refuse.
Yeah.
Albert also mentions that he won't cooperate unless they're granted freedom. After Lamia leaves, the ceiling suddenly opens and the men discover a huge assembly of women watching them. A discussion begins to decide the guy's future, but instead of a trial it becomes an argument between the Genetics and Archeo factions. Archeo wants to force the men to go through the surgery,
No.
while Genetics wants to kill them and experiment on them. While the women
No.
vote, Max and Albert come
Trying
up
to
with
get
a plan to
buns.
escape. They start kissing the guards, and the mix of shock and awakening.
Bro, I thought he was kissing bro. Like, for 2 seconds, I thought he was kissing bro, and I was gonna click off the video and end my stream. Like, no way I was gonna watch that, bro. But dude, okay, this is getting good. This is getting good.
makes them pass out. By
Damn.
the time Archeo and its
Girls
surgery
pass out from
idea
a
win
kiss?
by 1 vote, the duo is already gone. They are wandering around the building,
They were
kissing any
fucking-
woman who tries to stop them to knock them out. Eventually they find an elevator and use it to visit different floors, where they find one weird thing after the other. When they reach an area deep underground, they discover mine shaft plus a few items on the floor like a boot, a bottle of alcohol, and a newspaper from 1993 that mentions the beginning of the war. At that moment the security team finds them, so the duo runs and escapes through a waste chute. They land in an abandoned area where anarchists live away from the oppressive regime, which allows them to enjoy forbidden
Is it
things
all
like
women?
music, dancing, and woman-on-woman action. Max and
Oh. Let's make this video and you're the guards. Y'all are so fucking gay.
Albert dumbly watch 2 people
No.
kiss and get caught by 2 rebels who think they're government spies. Chaos ensues as the rebels panic and the guards don't know who to arrest
Yes.
first, allowing the guys to escape. In the chaos, the
You're
men
watching 2
split
men
up
kiss,
but
not that
luckily find
crazy.
each other again at the elevator, only to be
What's he
discovered by
doing?
Lamia. She offers to take them to see the outside, but Max is suspicious. Albert reminds him this is their only chance.
If
so
you're
they
a
agree
woman,
to follow
yes.
her to a strange room with a periscope. As the men look through it, it's revealed that women have been living underground because outside is
Knew
all
it.
dark and barren with no chance of getting better anytime soon.
Knew it.
Their system always detects at least 300 units of radiation as a side effect of the M-bomb, meaning
Oh,
they can't
no.
go outside.
It's Fallout.
However, Max
women.
and Albert would rather risk it than live there. Lamia is disappointed to hear they won't cooperate and says she must be a loyal worker. So
Nah,
she
she has a weird build too. Now I'm looking at her. I'm not gonna go back because I don't want to show y'all again. That was
alerts
weird.
security and soon the men are captured again. Emma and another woman congratulate Lamia
Emma.
for her sneaky plan and give her a pin that represents a promotion, but Lamia doesn't feel happy or proud. Then Lamia is asked to hand over all the data she has collected on the men because Genetics will be taking over her work since the guys' attempt to escape has marked them as dangerous. A furious Lamia tries to argue against it because she had been working on a dissertation about the men, but Emma teases her
I
by
don't know what
saying
that
they'll
means.
have to take that too. Upset, Lamia throws away the pin. Meanwhile, Albert and Max are being prepared for the procedure.
Wait, they're gonna take their
organs
meat?
will be given to older women while the rest of their bodies will be synthesized for nutritional substances because nowadays there's a lack of protein sources. To Max's shock, one of the surgeons is his daughter, who
Okay, I'm just so confused, bro. So they froze these niggas for 50, 60 years, unthawed them. See, I thought they were gonna be like clapping cheeks, but no, they're getting eaten, giving their organs to women, or getting their pee-pees cut off. This is actually like doomsday worst case scenario, bro. Like waking up, I'm like, at first I'm like, damn, like they're gonna get buns. Wow, this is a bad way to go out. No, I don't want to go out
who
like
is now
this, bro.
old and resentful of his father for abandoning her.
Like what?
Before the procedure can begin, Lamia sneaks into the operating room to get her revenge on Genetics by sabotaging the surgery and helping the guys escape. The trio reaches the elevator, only
Ooh.
for Albert to pass out because he did get injected with anesthesia. He suddenly wakes up in 1994 and finds the professor telling him that the experiment worked wonderfully. Albert shares the fact
he's
he dreamed
tweaking.
about a world without men, and Max says he had the same dream. The professor says that's impossible, causing Albert to wake up and find himself in the elevator with Max and Lamia. Afterward, Lamia takes them back to the periscope room, where she threatens the guards and makes them take off their special suits.
Yeah.
After the guys put the suits on, Lamia tries
No.
using the system to send them to the surface, but a guard says a password is needed and only Her Excellency knows it. Frustrated, Max curses aloud and the computer reacts because that bad word turns out to be the password. At that moment, Lamia decides to go with them and also puts on a suit. The trio carefully looks around the creepy area until they come across a
even say that
barrier,
out loud.
only to realize it's made of fabric. They use a knife to cut it and cross it, which allows them to find out the truth. The world is just fine, and what they saw on the periscope had been the creepy room with a painted wasteland to brainwash the citizens of the underground base. The group explores the beautiful nature and enjoys the warm sunlight until they realize the suits are running out of oxygen. Suddenly Max sees a bird fly by and removes his suit, confirming the air is fine. After the others also take off their suits, they continue to advance and find a wall, which they climb over to discover a beautiful house. They immediately get themselves comfortable and grab fresh food from the fridge, which surprises Lamia with its amazing taste. Meanwhile in the underground base, Emma volunteers to take the risk and puts on the suit to go after the group. Eventually she finds the house and sees the trio.
Yeah, I was going to say, fresh fruit's crazy.
Because her suit is losing oxygen. Albert picks her up and takes her into the house to help her regain consciousness. When she wakes up...
Wait a second. 2 men, 2 women, 1 house, fresh eats? I've seen this before, bro.
Emma demands to be taken back to the base and starts struggling against Albert to escape. Their movement causes them to accidentally turn on the TV, which shows an official government broadcast that announces Lamia and Emma are dead. Then there's an interview with a fake Max
so people
and
outside
who say they're happy to be women now. This shows Emma that her government has been brainwashing her, so she agrees to stay with Albert while Max takes Lamia to a bedroom so they can finally do the dirty.
I'm seeing this
Sometime
script.
Later, Max and Albert hear the sound of an arriving elevator and hide to watch Her Excellency enter the house, which turns out to be hers. When she finds 2 dirty glasses, she opens the wardrobe and sees Max, so she tries to run away. Albert and Max immediately jump on her and overpower her, but in the struggle, clothes are ripped and prosthetics fall. To their shock, Her Excellency turns out to be a man in disguise.
She's a nigga? Bro, what were they smoking in the 80s, bro? I was convinced, dude, there's too many, bro.
He explains he was only 4 when the war ended and the League of Women took over. The few remaining boys were put through surgery, but his mom hid him to save him. When he grew up, he started wearing a woman costume and joined the League, eventually becoming their leader. The radiation wasn't as strong as they anticipated, but it was hard to change what a brainwashed crowd was used to. Then Albert and Max offer a deal. They'll keep this guy's real identity secret, and in exchange he'll let them live in the house with Lamia and Emma. Her Excellency gladly agrees, admitting he's scared of women. Sometime later, Max and Albert sneak back into the underground base while disguised as female laboratory workers. They add their seed to the flasks in the incubation center, hoping to change the future.
I don't even know what to say at this point, bro. Usually I have something funny or crazy to say, bro. But these guys are dropping their little eggs into the...
9 months later, a nurse wraps a newborn in blankets and screams when she discovers a baby boy.